Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm joined here with Mark A. Dulaney, also known as your personal drill sergeant.
Yes, I am. That's me. Yes, I am.
Mark, Mark has a very direct and powerful approach to personal growth and performance. He focuses on one thing most people don't like to talk about: excuses. In his work, he helps people turn what he calls their most expensive habit into something far more valuable: bold, consistent execution. His perspective is simple, but it really makes you pause. He believes most people don't actually have a motivation problem or even a strategy problem. The real challenge is that we already know what to do, but instead of acting on it, we delay, overthink, or find reasons not to follow through. Mark works with people who are tired of consuming more information, more courses, and more ideas without seeing real results. His role is not to motivate, but to direct. He helps his clients follow through on the commitments they've already made to themselves without shame and without overcomplicating the process. What makes his approach different is the level of accountability he brings. He doesn't tell people what to do, he helps them actually do what they already know they should be doing and stay with it until they see results. At the core of his message is this idea: success doesn't come from knowing more or feeling more motivated. It comes from consistent, effective execution. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring in today's conversation. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Sarah, how are you today? It's amazing to be here and to think that we're talking across oceans, not just cities, right? We're talking across oceans, and I'm excited to be
Yes,
here
we are.
today.
Thank you. And thank you for coming, because this is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about decision. I talk about decisions a lot, and the excuses. Well, I have a lot of them. So I thought, why not? Mark is the person to go to. So thank you for being here. Now, that was a really good introduction. But what I really want to know is, who is Mark Delaney? Who are you?
So, I am a 65-year-old who's living the life of a 23-year-old because my first time through adulthood, I absolutely sucked. I made some of the worst decisions. I was not consistent. All the stuff I talk about in my upcoming book and is because I did those things all wrong. So now I'm going through life again as if I'm 23 years old. I'm starting all over and I'm going to do it right this time.
That. I absolutely love that. You talk very openly about people being the problem. What do you actually mean by that? And how does that connect to excuses?
Okay. So, first off, I think they're slightly separate, but I'll bring them together, how they come together. So, I say this all the time. If I have a problem and I can't fix it myself, then I am nothing more than a victim or a pawn of whatever is the problem. So I want you to really think about that. If I have a problem, I can't fix it. I'm a victim of whatever is the problem. Or worse, I'm a pawn of whoever claims they're going to fix it for me. So I have a choice. I can either stand up for myself and advocate and move forward in my life, or I can be a victim, or I can be a pawn. Those are our three choices. No matter what situation is, you're either in charge, you're a victim, or you're a pawn.
I see that. I don't know that I like that you call me out like that, but I see it.
Well, I think everyone in some part of our lives is living either as a victim or a pawn. And the reason why I call it out, though, is because most people don't see it that they're a victim. They believe they are absolutely, I don't know what the word is, stuck. I'll use the word stuck. That this life is not fair, this, that, and the other. But if you see yourself as a victim, I hope it pisses you off enough to do something so you won't be a victim anymore. And if you're a pawn, if you're being used by someone, I don't care who it is, I want you to get pissed off enough to say, you're not using me anymore. I'm going to take my life back.
I like it. Okay, many women listening might recognize themselves in this. I do when I think about people using me. I used to think of it as people pleaser until I didn't, but also feel guilt or shame. How do you help someone take responsibility without beating themselves up?
So it's interesting to me because I listen to people who say, you know, I've been working with this person for 6 months, or I signed up for a 6 month program, and I'm not taking saying anything personal to anyone, but you know, I get people to do things in 24 to 48 hours. Like literally speaking, I had a client, and she has a lot of podcast experience working with other people. She wanted her own podcast, and she recorded episode 1, and I met her a year later, and she hired me on a Saturday. And by Monday, she was working on episode 2. I call myself the productive pain in the ass you never knew and the personal drill sergeant because I'm not here to talk about your past. I'm not here to talk about your feelings. You tell me what you want and I'll get you to do it. That's my simple proposition with anyone. You have a goal you want to accomplish, you want to change your life, you want to solve a problem. If you engage with me, I'll tell you 3 things you need to do, and then you go do it. And I have a way of holding people accountable and getting them to take those actions.
I think it's your voice, because
Maybe.
that's what I hear when I don't do what I said I was gonna do.
I think it's well that's because you are proof of the impact of working with me. And you actually, this is our first time ever actually talking in person, right? Everything else was what you just read my stuff. So I mean, this is what I do. That's why I don't take on the term of coach or therapist, or I'm your personal drill sergeant. Here's the difference though. In the military, drill sergeants give orders. I don't give orders. I get my clients to obey their own orders. And that's what makes me different from a quote military drill sergeant, a coach, a therapist, and all those other people who supposedly help people.
That's a nice approach. Why do you think we hold on to excuses even when we know they're keeping us stuck? What are
So
we getting from them?
I spent my whole life unknowingly, I realize it now, understanding and learning. So I'm one of those people who ask a lot of questions that sometimes annoy people because I ask so many questions. But ultimately, excuses are our brain's way of protecting us from emotional harm. One of the things I talk about in my book is when we're babies, we have no fear whatsoever. Like babies aren't afraid of anything. We learn what to fear from our parents, from our experiences, from our education. And then something happens to us. We realize physical harm. So we stop doing, for the most part, we stop doing stupid stuff that can get us injured. But then we fear what can hurt us emotionally. And that's where excuses come from. Every excuse that we generate is because there's something we're about to do, know we should do, but our excuses tell us if you do it, it's going to hurt. And whether it's rejection, whether it's failure, and a big one is loss of status. And when those 3 things are present, we create excuses to protect ourselves from that pain. People will drive down the expressway 90 miles an hour drunk because they no longer fear physical ramifications, but fear of rejection, fear of selling something and be told no, fear of looking stupid in public. Oh no, that we can't do. So why is it that people get stuck? Because they care more about what other people think about them than they care about their own success.
Mic drop.
That's why I shut up. And so there's an industry out there called network marketing. And I believe every person could use it to learn how to be a better marketer, to learn how to sell, to make some money. But they're more afraid of what their brother and sister or friends are going to think if they do one of those things. So they don't do it. And they limit themselves for the rest of their lives. And I can go on and on
Yeah.
about how people are more worried about what their friends and circle of influence thinks about them, their fear of rejection. So I'll tell you once, and don't let me dominate the conversation. Feel free with questions, but I'll tell you,
You're good.
I've proven this. People will do more to save $1 than they will to make $100. People will do more to avoid rejection than they will to create the life they truly want to live. You talk to me about someone who's limited in life, I will show you their excuses. And when I say excuses, and there's another word that comes into play. It's called self-imposed limitations. And a self-imposed limitation is when I did something once or never did it before, but I just assume I wouldn't be good at that. That's a self-imposed limitation. That cuts the masses of people off from being successful at almost everything because they did it once, it didn't work, so they never do it again. Or they feel like they can't do it and they just give up and never try. That is a limitation we place on ourselves. And all I do for my clients, I get them to break that barrier and go for whatever it is they say they want to go for.
There's often a lot of complexity, family, health, transitions, all the things. How do we distinguish between a real limitation and an excuse?
So if you really think about everything that we live in today, right? It was impossible either 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? It took some bold person to say, no, I believe this is possible, and they pursued it. And then when they do pursue it and they become rich and famous, everyone says, oh, that person was lucky. Am I right? Am I right or
Yep,
wrong?
you're right. You're right.
And so to answer your question the best way I can is I think somebody just has to be willing to take the risk of failure, of setbacks. And sometimes it's the risk involves money. Sometimes the risks involve status. Sometimes the risks involves physical pain. But the idea that I can be as successful as someone who's willing to take the risk that I'm not willing to take, that's just unfair. That's just unfair. We have unfair expectations when we look at other people. So a guy I know, he said these words. He said, everybody looks at the successful person and says, I want those results. But nobody ever wants to go through the journey they went through to create those results.
I wonder why we don't all do amazing things then, right?
Well, no, that's why. That's why we don't, because we don't want to do the work.
Exactly. Oh
I
boy.
don't I don't know what anybody's like religious persuasion is, but I'm a Christian, and in our faith, everybody gets equal grace from Jesus. That's the only place on earth that exists. In everything else, you get, I don't want to say what you deserve, but you get what you earn.
I like it.
Christ gives me faith. I'm a sinner. He gives me faith and he gives me grace. Everything else, I have to earn it. I have to earn love. I have to earn money. I have to earn health. And that's just the way life is. And the people who don't understand that end up living, sadly, sad and miserable lives. They become bitter and they look at people who have what they want and they say, life's not fair. When what they should say is, what did that person do? And can I do that?
Yeah. That's a good question.
It is. What did that person do and why can't I do that? I wish everyone would ask that question more often.
If someone listening realizes I've been making excuses, what is the first practical step they can take today to shift into action? Well, go through your course or read your book. That's a given.
That
I
would be a
can
good
attest
that,
to that.
I wasn't going to say that though. I wasn't going to say that. So to answer the question, I would say is to answer the. So I want to give you a bigger answer so that people can get a principle, not just a strategy. So first off, everyone is motivated by one of two things: love or fear. We do what we love because there's no consequences. We don't do what we fear because we're afraid of the consequences. So when an excuse says don't do this, the first thing you can do is ask the question, what am I afraid of? What am I worried about? What is this thing I'm being protected from through these excuses so I don't experience the mental and emotional pain of failure, setbacks, or rejection? That's what they can do. Everyone can do that without a coach, without a guide, without anything. If you hear my words right now, the next time you're afraid, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of?
Do you think, I wonder, are we honest with ourselves when we ask ourselves that? That's another question.
Well, so to answer your question, if someone is bold enough to answer, so most of us don't ask that question, right?
Right.
So we don't ask the question. So therefore, we don't have a chance to be honest with ourselves. I believe that, and I was going to say this before you asked the question, if someone asked the question, what am I afraid of? Why am I avoiding this? Then that's when they get to be honest with themselves. Like that is the time, hey, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of. So I'm afraid of heights. I can stand on a place that's secure where there's a railing and I can look over, I can do anything. I've been to the Grand Canyon and there's places with railings. I looked over. There's places without railings. I don't go anywhere near the edge. Like there's a rock place that you can literally go and look off the edge. I couldn't do that. And you know what? I don't care. It's not costing me anything to not do that. When I have a fear of public speaking, which I had at one point, that was costing me something. So I had to overcome those things. It's not easy calling yourself a personal drill sergeant. People think, I don't want a drill sergeant. I don't want a drill sergeant. Who wants a drill sergeant in their lives? Well, the right person does. And they know it as soon as they hear me say what I do.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
You speak a lot about, oh, sorry, Mark. Did
Well, I
you?
just will say this. Whoever's listening to me right now, your audience, I'm guessing, is mostly women, correct? Mostly, not all, but mostly.
Yeah, mostly.
So, ladies, here's what I want to say to you: be who you really want to be. Don't be limited by who you've been conditioned to believe you are. Go for it. Be who you want to be because nobody's coming to rescue you. You got to rescue yourself. Whatever your problem is, whatever your struggle is, I don't care who makes promises to you. You're the one that has the most power to fix it. Take advantage of that power.
Thank you. That was our permission slip. Okay, so you speak a lot about discipline. And for someone who has lost confidence in themselves, for example, how do they rebuild trust while also becoming more disciplined?
So I have a saying, it's get started from where you are without shame. Now, that statement implies a number of things. Now, I believe that every single person who has a goal knows what the first step is towards that goal, or if they're already on the way, they know the next step they have to take. They don't take it because of what we talked about: fear of failure, fear of rejection, but you got to take that step. There is no substitute for taking the step. So, the first part of every journey starts with one step. Don't worry about step 10. Don't worry about the finish line. Just get through this next step, whatever it may be. And I just go to one more statement. If success were easy, if a great healthy body were easy, if $1 million were easy, if sales were easy, if whatever was easy, everybody would do it. There's a reason most people don't do it. If you want to be different, you got to take that step, whatever it is. And only you, Sarah, and you, young lady listening to me right now, only you know what that step is you've been avoiding. Take the step.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to be clear. I don't want to get sued later. I'm not talking about jumping off a cliff. I'm not talking about running in traffic. I'm talking about that'll accomplish your goal and make your life better.
Yes. Thanks for clarifying that. Um, yeah, it's there is that fear of taking that step, right?
Definitely.
And sometimes it's a small thing and sometimes it's a big thing, but I keep going back to what you were saying at the beginning. Fear of what others are going to think of you, of me in this case, right? And that has held me back a lot. Doesn't anymore, but it did. And And I'm not a victim. Nobody's, making me not take the step, but myself, because everything really lives in my head. All the things that I say live in my head. Nobody's actually saying those things to my face, and it can be hard. So am I feeling like a victim? Am I feeling like, what am I being in that moment? It's complicated.
Something interesting as you were saying, this is what popped into my head. There are people with no morals, no scruples, no character who don't hesitate to ruin, hurt, slander other people without giving it a thought. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
good people, you usually find that the better a person's heart is, the less likely they are to pursue something great because they're so worried about what will people think or the stuff that we're talking about. But people with bad hearts, they'll screw everybody over to get what they want.
True.
And it's so unfair, right? That good people are afraid of what people will think of them. Bad people don't care what you think, so they do whatever the hell they want. I hope that's not too bad a language, but it's a true point, right?
Yeah.
Good people are usually the ones who are most afraid of doing what will make them successful. Stop it. That's all I'm saying. Stop it. Don't be that person.
Yeah, because we don't really need to go over anybody to accomplish whatever we want to accomplish. For the most part, we can just follow, take that step and continue to be a good person, even though we're going after what we want.
What's really amazing is success can make you an even better person because you have resources to share. You can bless other people. There's so many things that good people can do if they stop worrying about what other people think and just pursue the life they truly want to live. They can do some amazing things and then they can help more people and show other people to do what they just did.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we keep forgetting that. Money makes us more of what we really are, right? So if we
Yes,
are
yes,
that good person, if we are that person that shows up for others, we can do it in a much bigger way and better
that's true.
way.
Because you have an audience that's mostly female. I just want to say that it's amazing to me how really good women, good people, but especially good women, never put themselves first. They put everybody else first, and thus they never have time, energy, or money to take care of themselves. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about ignoring your 2 month old baby or something like that. I'm talking about I've seen really good women spend all their time and money giving it to people who just take and take and take and never give anything back. And I think that's a shame. And I just want to make sure I spoke to that to any woman listening to me now. You can be a good woman and still say no when it's not to your best advantage, when it hurts you, when it costs you, and especially when you're not getting anything back in return.
I like it. If there's one excuse you hear over and over again, the one that keeps people stuck the longest, what is it? And what would you say directly to that person today?
I think it's the self imposed limitation thing I talked about earlier. The I can't, or I'm not the kind of person who does those things. I think the biggest excuse is people set limits into what they believe they're capable of doing. And the advice is the same, just take the first step. Take the first step. Now, the one thing I just want to, what is not a step? This is not a step. This is what people do wrong. They go out and they learn something. They take a course. They watch a motivational video. That is not a step. That is a preparation. A step is you do something towards the goal that you want. So I don't care how many books I read, except mine. Mine is the exception. But no, just
Yes.
kidding. I don't care how many books you read, including mine. If you're not taking a step to accomplish the goal, you are not moving forward. You are simply preparing. And we can prepare for months and years, but at some point, we just had a spaceship go and circle the moon. They prepared for years, but at some point, there had to be a takeoff. And the hardest part of that journey was the takeoff. That took the most energy of everything, right? Well, the same thing is true for us with our goals. We have to prepare, and then, but at some point, We have to take off. If we don't take off, we're never going to go anywhere.
So you mean that all those courses that I take, all the books that I read, if I don't use the information to actually do something, that's not a step.
That's not a step. So I'm going to say something that's going to maybe piss off a lot of people, but the personal development industry exists because people spend money and they never do what they learn. And then they find someone else to spend money with, or they keep spending money, they keep buying books. I have a saying, I wrote this in my book, that for so many people, some watch movies, some watch television, some scroll their phones, others watch motivational videos and read encouraging books. It's a form of entertainment for people. And in other cases, the accomplishment is that I learned something, not that I did it. And if you dissect those two statements, you'll understand the difference between people who are successful and people who are preparing for success. Preparation is a good thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but at some point, you got to take the step. You got to take that first step or that next step. You got to do something. If you haven't been rejected in a day, if you haven't failed or set back in a day, you probably didn't do anything worthwhile.
Mark, that's a little harsh, isn't it?
Well, think about it. It's still something can be two things can be true. It can be harsh, but it doesn't mean it's not true, right?
Yes, yes.
You spend your day only doing what's easy and simple, you will end up one day old, unhealthy, broke, and alone, probably. You got
Probably.
to do something you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Corny, I've heard it before, but it's true.
Yeah. And I'm glad you called it and you addressed it, because especially on the online space, I see a lot of people saying, if you just read a book, that might be the thing that you need right now. That might be the thing that's going to move. And actually, it's really not, because it's not really the motivation that's going to get us to move. I don't think it's the decision to move. It's to do it anyway. You don't Motivation is awesome, but if you're just motivated, you're never going to take that step, probably.
So here's how people make decisions. We have the love versus the fear.
Hmm.
And if we love something enough, we'll embrace the fear of getting it.
Mm.
If the fear outweighs the thing we desire, we just won't do it. And we won't do it for long if we do try. And so why is it that at some point almost every famous powerful man gets caught up in a sex scandal? Because sex is the ultimate form of pleasure for men. And please, I don't want to go to some, but why do they? Because the enticement of that, it's like Adam and Eve in the garden. There was that apple. The one thing they couldn't do was the one thing they had to do.
Mm.
And in our lives, we love the thing that we shouldn't do sometimes, right? So people do that. Versus, well, what if we put all that love into getting the thing we want in the right way? So instead of a man or woman having an affair, what if we treated our wife or husband like a queen or king, so they would want to have sex with us, if that makes sense?
Hmm. It does make
What
sense.
if, like, if we wanted love, what if our strategy for love was being loving? If we want to make a lot of money, what if our strategy was, I'm going to provide value to people so they want to give me money? Whatever it is you want, there are two paths to get it. There's the negative path that's going to come back to bite you, and there's a positive path that's going to come back and just pay rewards with no possible ramifications.
I like
We
it.
always have that choice. But fear always says take the quick, fast, and easy way to get what you want. Love says, I'm going to sacrifice, I'm going to prepare, I'm going to give so others will want to give back to me.
That was very good. I have a few rapid fire questions for you. Are you game?
I'm game. I'm
Let's
game.
go. Okay. A word that defines this stage of your life.
Starting over. I know that's two words, but starting over.
Hmm. A book or quote that shaped you?
Book or quote that shapes you. One of the problems of being an author is it's always your quotes that have to shape you. And so for
There's
mine,
nothing wrong with that.
okay, so for me, it's just take the next step. Without taking the next step, you never go anywhere.
Okay. And what does self care look like for you?
Self care.
Yes.
Self care looks like every night when I go to bed, I watch an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
I love that show.
It's so funny.
It
It
is.
is so funny. It reminds me of me and my lady because I'm a little taller than her. She's a short fireball. I'm scared to death of her. And so I don't want to cross her or piss her off. But I look at that show and sometimes I fall asleep on it. Sometimes I laugh, but I always feel better after I watch that show.
I think everything we watch, we read or something, that would be should be the ultimate goal, that we always feel better. Like, when you are in contact with other people, like, my ultimate goal is that I leave that person a little better than she was before I was with her. So yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for
And so,
sharing
just
that
one
with
more
us.
thing. One
Yes.
more part of self care is exercise. That's the part that's really vital is exercise. I'm 65 years old, but I can still run for miles. I can do 10. I can easily do 10 chin ups on a bar. I could do, so that's a part of self care, and that is my secret to being able to start all over in life at 65. I took care of my body. I would feel remiss if I didn't tell people if you're looking for a place to start your journey to a better life, start with your body. It's the one part of your life you have total control over. What you put in your body, how you move it, how you strengthen it, how you take care of it, that's on you. Genetically speaking, we can't change our genetics, we can only enhance them. But if you're looking for a place to start, ladies, start by taking care of yourself because nobody else can stop you. That's on you.
The other day I heard or I read um something that went like, I take care of my body because I love it, not because I hate it. And that kind of changed things for me, because when I think of exercise, it's always to change something that I don't like about myself, my body, and that kind of changed the perspective. I like that.
Cool. Well, yes, I think, at some point, like I said, at some point, when your body breaks down, everything else in your life breaks down. So that's the one thing you should take care of. And it's the one thing you have the most power over how you treat it. Give me one more rapid fire questions if there's any more left.
Ja, I have one more.
Okay.
Okay. Something simple that makes you feel grounded.
Her name is Dina, and she's not simple, but I've never felt about a woman the way I feel about her. And she literally, do you remember the Jack Nicholson movie where he says, "You make me want to be a better man"?
Yes, is that with Diane Keaton?
I don't remember. I just know that line. I just remember that line. If you said the name of the movie, I would remember it. But I've dated, I've been married twice, obviously divorced twice. I've had a lot of girlfriends, but I've never had a woman that literally made me want to be a better man. So, ladies, you should put yourself where you want a man to think of you that way. And that means she challenges me. She stands up to me. She looks me in the eye and tells me what I'm doing wrong. And it's sometimes it's scary, but oftentimes she's right. I needed to be a better man. And she's a part of my inspiration to be a better man and why I'm starting all over at 23. And I didn't get to talk about this, but I went through prostate cancer journey. I met her 6 weeks before I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and she was my biggest supporter through the whole thing. So the thing that grounds me is that young lady named Dina. And I hope somehow, some way she hears this.
That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Okay, Mark, tell us, how can people find you? How can we connect with you? What have you got in the works? Tell us
Can,
everything.
can I make one statement beforehand?
You can.
Ladies, I want you all to find or inspire a man to say what I just said about you for no reason other than it's true. I want you to be that great of a woman that you inspire some man or whoever your partner is in life to say those type of things about you. So Sarah, I hope if you don't have one already, I hope you find that person. I hope you become such a light that someone looks at you and goes, "Man, I am so much better off because I met you." I hope everyone listening to me is able to say that about somebody someday.
That's beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um, so you can reach me through social media. I am in such a state of transition as I'm ready for my book that I know what is going to be in the book when it's done. I don't know what's going to be. So my name is Mark Dulaney, Dulaney. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. There is a I have a website that's still in development. So it is called eliminateexcuses.com. The word eliminate, the word excuses.
Awesome. You'll be sure to send me that link and then I'll update the show notes and I'll be sure to tell everybody about it.
I will do that. Sarah, can I congratulate you because you have a wonderful podcast and you asked some great questions and there was never that awkward silence. You let me speak and then I let you speak and I thought it was a great conversation. So congratulations on being a great podcast host.
Thank you. And thank you very much for being with us and with me today. I really appreciate that. And you are an awesome guest. You have a lot of good things to say. So probably we'll do it again sometime.
I'm always available to you, Sarah. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.